Kamala Harris is an East Indian presidential candidate. She's going to take care of the East Indians. Guess who's going to be left out? The black folks. You just said mixed race Africans are not black, but you are calling Kamala Harris a black candidate for president. You can't make this up.
Ooh.
If you love black people so much that you want to marry our women, y'all going crazy over our women, and black women's self-esteem is so low, even the ugliest white man is more desirable to her than the most handsomest black man. How can you have a problem with Drake not claiming to be African, but you out here raising money and caping for Kamala Harris, who also is only black when it is convenient? I want to expose the contradictions tonight.
This dude right here, I never said you had to beat them down. Come on, man, you're using female logic. Did I ever say we needed to beat black women down? I said constructive criticism, they deserve it sometime. Black men deserve constructive criticism. Black women deserve constructive criticism. I never said you had to beat them down mentally or verbally. All it takes is constructive criticism when it's necessary, when it's needed. That's all I said. And every black man is not a king, and every black woman is not a queen. If you called every black man a king, every black woman a queen, you take the value away from what true queens, you take the value of what true queens and true kings are. If anybody black can just be a king or queen, all of a sudden it doesn't mean a damn thing no more. You just took the value away from the word king and queen because you are willing to call peasants and hood rats kings and queens. You just stripped the value away from kings and queens when you call peasants and hood rats queens. That title is only for a woman who deserves that title. All black men can't be kings and all black women cannot be queens. Let's be real about the situation. We don't all come from kings and queens. Some of these people were peasants. Some of these people were servants. Everybody is not a king or a queen. You got to earn that title in order to deserve that title. That is not a given. You must earn it in order to deserve it. So when you take hood rats and call them queens, there's no incentive for self-improvement because you're pedestalizing them regardless of their behavior. There's no incentive for them to get better because you are pedestalizing them regardless of their behavior. There's no incentive for the woman to get better. Now, you can say a fact about Dr. Umar, but we're not here to trash our brother. He's still our brother. I'm just saying that he needs to hold these black queens accountable. Because if you don't hold black women accountable, there's no incentive for them to get better because you are telling them that you are pretty much telling them that they are doing nothing wrong. And if you can't tell black women the truth, then there's no incentive for her to become a better woman. Because if you left it up to her, she's not the problem. The men are the problem. And when you take hood rats and call them queens and hold them in high regard, there's no incentive for them to get better. Because you're not telling them what's wrong. You're not showing them the problem. You're not being honest with them. So the cycle continues. You got hood rats who still believe they're queens. You got hood rats who still believe they have value as women because you refuse to tell them the truth. You refuse to tell them the truth. So there's no incentive to get better if you can't point out their flaws. I said this in many live streams ago. If you can't criticize your women, you can't lead your women. Because what'll happen is this. They'll accept your praise and worship, but the moment you criticize them, that becomes a problem. So at that point, it's impossible to lead them. If you can't criticize them in a constructive way, then it's impossible to lead them. The moment that Dr. Umar holds black women accountable, they get pissed off. They don't want to hear it. How can you lead somebody that you can't criticize? Imagine you coaching a basketball team. They won't accept your criticism. How could you teach them? How could you coach them if they want to accept your constructive criticism? Well, it's the same thing with Dr. Umar and black women. As long as he's praising them and worshiping them, they're cool. They're gonna send their full support. But the moment he starts to hold them accountable, the moment he gives them a little pushback, that becomes a problem, which makes it impossible to lead them if you cannot criticize them. All facts, baby.
I'm trying to understand how we don't have a single independent black hospital that I'm aware of. We don't have any grassroots black banks. We got black banks, but they're bourgeoisie. They're run by black bourgeoisie. We don't have a single grassroots black bank. We don't have a single grassroots hospital. We don't have a single grassroots supermarket. We have almost no real independent grassroots black schools. We don't have any grassroots manufacturing or distribution network, but y'all raising millions of dollars for a woman who's only black when it benefits her. I want to deal with this contradiction. Let's deal with the contradiction of black men and black women raising millions of dollars for Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. But you ain't got the same energy to build schools. You ain't got the same energy to build banks. You ain't got the same energy to build hospitals. You ain't got the same energy to build supermarkets. You ain't got the same energy to create jobs so black men don't have to kill each other on the streets. You ain't got the same energy to create a black distribution network. You don't have the same energy for black manufacturing, but you got millions for Kamala Harris. Mixed race Africans who you say are not black, but you raising millions. Can we please expose the contradictions in the black community? Can we please expose the contradictions in the black community? Now, as far as you voting, I've never told a single Negro not to vote.
I feel like, the black men should be criticized too for simping and following women. But this makes it worse on the women part, and I repeated this many times. This is why it's worse on black women part. I'm talking about the black women who support Kamala Harris, because clearly you got a lot of black women who don't support Kamala Harris. So I'm speaking to the black women who are supporting Kamala Harris. Let's be specific about that. Now, these same black women that support Kamala Harris, even though she has a white husband, none of those so-called queens and black women, none of those queens would support. None of those queens would have supported Barack Obama running for president with a white wife. That alone shows you their hypocrisy. They're hypocrites. And that's only common sense. You ain't got to be smart to figure that out. None of these black women, I repeat, none of these black women who are supporting Kamala Harris running for president with a white husband, none of those so-called black queens would have supported Barack Obama running for president with a white wife. Tell me I'm lying. They would have never in a million years supported Barack Obama running for president with a white wife, but they're in full support of Kamala Harris running for president with a white husband. Imagine that. The hypocrisy is real, y'all. Oh, the hypocrisy is real. Video. I want you to see this black woman going in on Dr. Umar for criticizing black women, for criticizing Kamala Harris. Hit the like button and support the content. $red 1803.
And I'm sick of listening to Umar. Umar, let me talk. Okay? First and foremost.
That's Dr. Umar. It's the Dr. Umar.
Well, then act like a doctor and stop criticizing everybody. Bottom line, people who
emotions, non-emotional strategic thinking.
Hater. You are a black woman.
We're emotional, my sister. We can't win being emotional.
Dude, you criticize everybody. I ain't never seen you do anything for black people.
Hey, we're not going to attack our guests either.
Calm down, my beautiful African.
All right. You have seemed to be mighty emotional yourself today, Dr. Umar. We all are, because this is a very touchy situation. We see it differently.
Passion. I am
passion.
See, Dr. Umar is using semantics now.
Dr. Umar is just a black female basher. And I said, that definitely is not true. He is uphold the integrity of...
How was Dr. Umar a black female basher as much as he kisses black women's ass? How was Dr. Umar a black female basher as much as he kisses black women's ass? The moment he gives them a little bit of pushback, the moment he gives them some constructive criticism, all of a sudden he is now a black woman basher. I told you, for the most part, black women only want worship and praise. They don't want no criticism. They only want worship and praise. The moment Dr. Umar gives a little pushback, he is now considered a black woman basher, when all he really does is kisses their ass all the time.
Black women,
He ain't
ever
even
since
black.
I've known
She
them.
identify as black. I can show you 5 interviews of Kamala Harris being called South Asian, and
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that. So we're both Indian,
Yes.
but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes. You look like the entire one half of my family.
Okay, thank you.
You do.
Well, what would you consider her to be?
she doesn't once correct the interview
What do you
and
consider her
say,
to be?
I'm not only South Asian, I'm also Jamaican African or Jamaican American or American African. She is a proud Southeast Indian woman. She has a right to be a proud Southeast Indian woman, and nobody's going to manipulate my emotions or my consciousness to vote for a black woman who's only black when it benefits her. And I'm not voting for Donald Trump either, because he ain't got nothing on my plate. I'm live and direct from strategic thinking.
Hater. You are a black woman
We're emotional, my sister. We can't win being emotional.
You are a black woman hater. Now she's saying, I can't stand listening to Dr. Umar. You are a black woman hater. How, when he's kissing their ass for the most part? How is Dr. Umar one of the biggest black women's ass kisser? How could you look at that guy and say that he hates black women and somehow he's a black woman basher? You're not even being real at this point. It's rare that Dr. Umar criticizes black women. It's rare that he does it. But the moment that he does it, it's a problem. He hates black women. He's a black woman basher.
That term, toxic masculinity, I want y'all to look up a man named Shepard Bliss and Robert Stahl, LGBT brothers. They was the ones that coined that term, toxic masculinity. And I've been teaching on this for a long time, but I will teach now. Red has how many people watching right now? 318 people in the room. For years, I was teaching on this. And when we would teach, nobody would show up. 18, 20, 35. I'm lucky if you get 50 people in the room, right? But if I call the black woman a bitch, 1,500 people show up. But these terms that these women, white women start using first, and then black women adopted, toxic masculinity, was created by gay men. And it was coined, and it came out around the time the gay revolutionary came out by Michael Swift. And Red, if you ever get a chance, pull up Michael Swift, but don't do it on your channel because they're gonna give you a strike. Pull it up, read it. All my brothers, take this name down. Michael Swift, Fordham University, the gay revolutionary. I want every black man to read that article. It's in the Library of Congress, Fordham University, Michael Swift, the gay revolutionary, was written in 1987. Then this toxic masculinity was also coined, and he gave the lecture in 1987 about what toxic masculinity was. So now when you see these women using it, they're getting it from this man that coined this term where they wanted to alter what masculinity should be in a man. So what you see in today was created yesterday, but because we don't study the playbook, we don't have the proper strategy, the proper defense to fight against the offense that they're doing. They just completing all kinds of passes on us because we don't have the proper defense because we don't even know where it comes from. So I'll end it there. Look up Shepard Bliss, Robert Stahl, read it, and then look up Michael Swift, and you'll get an outstanding understanding as to what you're seeing today. I'm going. Thanks for having me, bro.